You're paying $3,000 a month in rent for an apartment you'll never own in a neighborhood you can't actually afford, convincing yourself it's an investment in your lifestyle. It's not. It's financial quicksand with a view. My name is Alex, and I've spent way too much time analyzing why smart people stay broke while making decent money. And what I discovered is that the things we think make us look wealthy are the exact same things keeping us from actually becoming wealthy. If you're serious about building real wealth, instead of just looking like you have it, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. What I'm about to show you will completely change how you see every purchase you make. Here's the core problem. We've been conditioned to confuse looking successful with being successful. And the gap between those two things is where your financial future goes to vanish. The worst part? The people who actually build wealth don't look wealthy at all. Their spending looks boring, unimpressive, almost embarrassingly basic. But there's a reason for that, and understanding it might be the most valuable thing you learn this year. Most financial advice tells you to cut out lattes and cancel Netflix. Completely wrong. Those aren't the purchases destroying your wealth. The real wealth destroyers are the big, impressive ones. The ones that make you feel like you've made it. The ones you post about, the ones your friends compliment. Those are the ones quietly ensuring you'll never actually make it. And there's a specific pattern to this trap. It's not random, it's engineered. Every day, you're being psychologically manipulated into purchases that look like wealth but function like financial cement shoes. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you understand the pattern, you can't unsee it. And that's exactly what we're about to do. Let me paint you a picture. You're 28 years old. You just got a promotion. You're making $70,000 a year. Finally, some breathing room. So you upgrade. You move from your okay apartment to a really nice one. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, in-unit washer and dryer, a rooftop deck where everyone takes Instagram photos at sunset. The building has a gym you'll use twice and a package room that makes you feel fancy. You're living in the kind of place that says you've arrived. Except you haven't arrived anywhere. You've just locked yourself into a financial prison with better lighting. Here's what actually happened. Your rent jumped from $1,400 to $3,000 a month. That's an extra $19,000 a year. But wait, it gets better. That apartment is in a trendier neighborhood, which means everything costs more. Coffee is $6 instead of $3. Drinks are $18 instead of $12. Even your dry cleaning costs more because the place down the street knows what people in this zip code can afford. You're now spending an extra $500 a month just on the lifestyle that surrounds the apartment. So that $70,000 salary, after taxes, you're taking home around $52,000. Your rent alone is consuming $36,000 of that. You're spending 69% of your take-home income on a place you'll never own, a place that's building someone else's wealth while your bank account stays permanently anemic. Now, stay with me here, because this next part is where it all clicks. Let's compare that to what wealthy people actually do. And I'm not talking about people who look wealthy. I'm talking about people with actual net worth. People who could stop working tomorrow and be fine. They buy a modest property in a less trendy neighborhood. Maybe it's a condo. Maybe it's a duplex where they live in one unit and rent out the other. It's not impressive. Nobody's taking photos of the kitchen, but here's what it does. Let's say they put down $20,000 and their mortgage payment is $1,600 a month. That payment isn't vanishing into someone else's pocket, it's building equity. Every single month, a portion of that payment increases their net worth. The property appreciates. In 5 years, that condo is worth $40,000 more than they paid for it. In 10 years, maybe $80,000 more. Meanwhile, you spent those 10 years paying $3,000 a month in rent. That's $360,000. Gone. Completely gone. You have nothing to show for it except a decade of Instagram posts from that rooftop deck. The person who bought the boring condo, they have equity. Appreciation. A foundation for actual wealth. You have aesthetic memories and a savings account that never seems to grow. And that's the first trap, the luxury apartment trap. It feels like success. It looks like you've made it, but it's a wealth extraction machine disguised as a lifestyle upgrade. But here's where this gets even more insidious, because the apartment isn't the only trap. It's the foundation for a whole system of wealth destruction. Once you're locked into that rent payment, you need everything else to match. You can't have a beautiful apartment and drive a mediocre car. You can't live in that neighborhood and wear basic clothes. The apartment creates gravitational pull toward more expensive everything, which brings us to premium everything syndrome. And this is where most people's financial lives completely fall apart. You've upgraded the apartment, now you need to upgrade the car. Not because your old car stopped working, not because you actually need a car at all in a city with decent public transit, but because you're parking in a garage next to Audis and Teslas and you feel ridiculous pulling up in a 7-year-old Honda Civic, so you lease. A luxury car lease feels like a cheat code. You're driving a $50,000 car for $500 a month. It's the financial equivalent of renting designer clothes. You get to look wealthy without the wealthy person's price tag. Except you're paying the wealthy person's price tag. You're just spreading it out in a way that feels manageable until you actually do the math. That $500 lease payment over 3 years, that's $18,000. Then the lease ends. You have nothing. The car goes back. You've spent $18,000 on a 3-year rental. Then you lease another one because now you're psychologically trapped. You've experienced luxury car features, heated seats, premium sound systems, that smooth, quiet ride. Going back to a basic car feels like failure, so you lease again and again. For the next 30 years, you're spending $6,000 a year on car payments for vehicles you'll never own. Let's compare that to the boring, wealthy person move. They buy a 3-year-old Toyota Camry for $20,000. They drive it for 10 years. Their total transportation cost over that decade is $20,000 plus maintenance. Your total cost for leasing luxury cars over that same decade, $60,000 minimum. That's a $40,000 difference. And that difference, if invested in an index fund averaging 7% returns, would be worth over $55,000 at the end of that 10 years. But you don't have that $55,000. You have photos of yourself next to a car you don't own. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the car matters for your career, for your image, for how people perceive you. Here's a hard truth that might sting a little. The people who are actually impressed by your luxury car lease are the people who also can't afford the lifestyle they're projecting. The people with real wealth, they don't care. They're driving practical cars and wondering why you're spending so much money to impress strangers. But the car is just the beginning of premium everything syndrome, because once you've got the apartment and the car, you need the wardrobe to match. You can't show up to that apartment in basic clothes. You can't drive that car wearing Old Navy. So you start buying designer pieces. Not full price, of course. You're financially savvy. You wait for sales. You buy outlet versions. You convince yourself it's an investment because quality lasts. Except it's not an investment. Investments generate returns. Your Gucci belt generates Instagram likes and a fleeting dopamine hit. That's it. You're spending $2,000 a year on clothes that signal success to people whose opinion shouldn't matter. Clothes that you'll replace in 2 years when the style changes or when you realize that wearing designer logos is actually the opposite of quiet luxury. The wealthy person, they're wearing a $15 plain t-shirt and jeans from Costco because they learned something you haven't learned yet. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are mutually exclusive for most people. You can do one or the other. You cannot do both. Not on a $70,000 salary. Not unless you're willing to stay broke forever in exchange for looking successful temporarily. Now add in the gym membership. Not Planet Fitness for $10 a month. That's for people who haven't made it yet. You need the boutique fitness studio. The one with eucalyptus towels and Meyer lemon-infused water, $35 per class, 4 classes a week, That's $560 a month, $6,720 a year to exercise, something you could do for free in a park or for $10 a month at a basic gym or with a $100 set of dumbbells in your living room. But that's not the point, is it? The point isn't the workout. The point is being seen working out at the right place with the right people wearing the right athletic wear. The point is the signal, and that signal is costing you $6,720 a year. Let me tie this together, because the math is where this gets absolutely brutal. Premium apartment rent premium over basic place, $19,000 a year. Luxury car lease versus buying used, $6,000 a year. Designer wardrobe premium, $2,000 a year. Boutique fitness versus basic gym, $6,000 a year. That's $33,000 a year in pure lifestyle signaling. Over 10 years, that's $330,000. If you invested that money instead, earning 7% average annual returns, you'd have almost $460,000. But you won't have that. You'll have 10 years of looking like you're doing well, and the person buying the boring condo and driving the used Toyota and wearing normal clothes, they'll actually be doing well. They'll have wealth, real wealth, the kind that buys freedom instead of appearances. And here's what I haven't told you yet. The psychological trap behind all of this is even more fascinating than the math. But before I get into that, you need to understand how the next level of this system works, because what we've covered so far, that's just the foundation of wealth destruction. The real damage happens when you add in everything else that we're about to break down. The subscription bleeding. This one's sneaky because each individual cut is so small you barely notice it happening, but that's exactly how they get you. Netflix, $14.99, Disney Plus, $13.99, Hulu, $17.99 for the no ads version because you're not some peasant watching commercials, HBO Max, $15.99, Spotify Premium, $10.99, Amazon Prime, $14.99 a month, or you paid the annual fee because it felt like a better deal. Apple iCloud storage because your photos filled up the free tier, $2.99. Adobe Creative Cloud because you took one photography class and convinced yourself you're going to edit photos seriously, $21.99 for the student plan, or $55 if you missed that completely line. Audible, $14.95. That meditation app your therapist recommended, $12.99. The New York Times digital subscription, $17. The meal kit service, $75 a week, which is $300 a month, but it's fine because you're learning to cook and it's healthier than takeout, right? Let's pause right there and add it up. Just those items, that's $236 a month, $2,832 a year on subscriptions, and I didn't even include the stuff you forgot about. The streaming service you signed up for to watch one show and never canceled, the app subscription that's $3.99 a month that you haven't used in 6 months but keeps auto-renewing, the wine club, the razor blade subscription, the vitamin subscription, the premium LinkedIn that you were sure would help your career. Here's where it gets fascinating from a psychological perspective. Each one of these feels justified in isolation. Netflix, everyone has Netflix. Spotify, you listen to music every day. Of course you should pay for it. The meal kit, that's an investment in your health. Adobe, that's for your side hustle. That's definitely going to take off any day now. But nobody taught you to look at the aggregate. Nobody taught you to add up the cumulative monthly bleed and ask yourself if the total is worth it. Because if I walked up to you and said, hey, would you like to spend $236 a month every month forever on digital content and services, most of which you use sporadically at best, you'd probably say no. You'd probably laugh at me. But that's exactly what you're doing. You just did it in small enough chunks that your brain doesn't register the danger. And the companies know this. They designed it this way on purpose. They priced each subscription just below your pain threshold, just cheap enough that canceling feels petty, just expensive enough that when you multiply it by 12 and then by 10 years, It's absolutely devastating to your wealth building capacity. $28,000 over 10 years. If you invested that money instead at 7% annual returns, you'd have almost $40,000. But you won't have $40,000. You'll have watched some shows you barely remember and listened to music you could have accessed for free with ads. Now, let's talk about fake business class living. This is the lifestyle category that makes you feel successful without actually building anything real. The brunch spot where you drop $45 on avocado toast, 2 mimosas, and a fancy coffee every Saturday. That's $180 a month, $2,160 a year. The craft cocktail bar where drinks are $18 each and you go twice a month with friends because you work hard and you deserve to unwind. 4 drinks across 2 nights. That's $144 a month, $1,728 a year. The concerts, the festivals, the sporting events. You're not buying nosebleed seats because what's the point of going if you can't actually see anything? So you spring for the good seats. $150 to $300 per ticket. Let's say you go to 6 events a year. That's $1,200 to $1,800 annually. The weekend trips. Not big vacations, just little getaways. 3-day weekends to nearby cities, the boutique Airbnb, the nice dinners out, the Ubers, because you're drinking and being responsible, the cute shops where you pick up local art or fancy chocolates or whatever. 3 or 4 of these trips a year, $500 to $800 per trip. That's $2,000 to $3,200 a year. The dinners at restaurants you can't actually afford, but you go to anyway because it's someone's birthday or you're celebrating something or you just want to feel like you've made it. $75 to $125 per person after drinks, appetizers, entree, dessert, tax, and tip. Once a month. That's $900 to $1,500 a year. Add it up. Low estimate, $7,600 a year. High estimate, over $10,000. Let's split the difference and call it $8,800 a year on experiences that make you feel wealthy but keep you broke. Over 10 years, that's $88,000. Invested at 7%, that becomes over $121,000. But here's what nobody tells you. These experiences aren't even that memorable. I know that sounds harsh. I know we live in a culture that worships experiences over things. I know you've been told that you can't take your money with you, so you might as well enjoy life now. But be honest with yourself. How many of those brunches do you actually remember? How many of those cocktail bar nights were truly special versus just expensive background noise? How many of those weekend trips were genuinely transformative versus just something to post about? The experience economy sold you a lie. The lie is that spending money on experiences is inherently more valuable than spending money on things, and therefore you should spend as much as possible on experiences without regard for the cost. That's not wisdom. That's marketing, and it's bankrupting you. The wealthy people I know, they have experiences too. But they have them after they've built the financial foundation that makes those experiences genuinely stress-free. They're not financing their lifestyle with credit cards and hoping their next paycheck covers it. They're not skipping their investment contributions to afford concert tickets. They built wealth first, then they spent money on experiences. In that order, you're doing it backwards. You're buying the lifestyle of a wealthy person with a middle-class income and wondering why you're stuck. Now, let's get into the finance lifestyle, because this is where the whole thing becomes genuinely dangerous. This is where you start leveraging debt to maintain the appearance of success. The furniture. You just moved into that expensive apartment we talked about earlier, and it's empty, and you need to furnish it, and you don't have $10,000 sitting around for a couch and a bed and a dining table and all the rest. But the furniture store has a solution. 0% financing for 18 months, or 24 months, or 36 months. No payments, no interest for a year, just sign here. So you do. And you walk out with a living room set, a bedroom set, a dining set, all the stuff that makes your place look like an adult lives there. Total cost, $12,000. Monthly payment, $250 for 48 months because you didn't pay it off during the promotional period. So now you're being charged retroactive interest at 27%. The electronics. The new MacBook Pro, because your old laptop is slow and you need it for work, technically, kind of, sometimes, $2,400. But Apple offers 0% financing for 12 months, so it's only $200 a month, and you can handle that, right? The TV, the 75-inch OLED, because you're paying for all these streaming services, you might as well watch them on something nice. $1,800. Best Buy credit card. 18 months, no interest. The home upgrades. Smart home devices, new kitchen appliances that match. That Peloton bike that's going to transform your fitness routine, except you stopped using it after 3 months and now it's a really expensive clothes hanger. $4,400 financed over 39 months at $39 a month. All of it financed. All of it on payment plans. All of it creating the illusion that you're living above your means without technically exceeding your monthly budget. Except you are exceeding your budget. You're just doing it slowly, spreading the pain across years instead of taking it all at once. Here's the math on that disaster. Furniture, $12,000. Laptop, $2,400. TV, $1,800. Peloton, $4,400. That's $18,600 in financed purchases. If you'd paid cash for all of it, which you couldn't because you don't have $18,600, it would have been bad enough. But you didn't pay cash, you financed it, and between the interest and the fact that you'll probably replace half this stuff before you finish paying for it, you'll end up spending over $23,000. $23,000 that could have been invested. $23,000 that could have been a down payment on a property. $23,000 that could have been your emergency fund. But instead, it's furniture and electronics that will be worthless in 5 years while you're still making payments on some of it. And the worst part, you feel like you're being responsible because you're making your payments on time. You feel like you're managing your debt well, but you're not managing anything. You're just slowly drowning in a pool that's filling up one bucket at a time, and because the water level rises gradually, you don't notice until it's up to your neck. This is the full picture of lifestyle inflation. It's not one big stupid purchase, it's 1,000 small decisions that individually seem harmless but collectively destroy your financial future. The premium apartment, the leased luxury car, the designer wardrobe, the expensive gym, the subscription stack, the experiential spending, the financed furniture and electronics, every single piece of it justified in isolation. Every single piece of it contributing to a lifestyle that requires every penny you earn just to maintain. And that's the trap. Because once you've built this lifestyle, you can't afford to stop working. You can't afford to take a pay cut for a better opportunity. You can't afford to start a business or take a sabbatical or make any move that would temporarily reduce your income. You're stuck. You've built yourself a beautiful, expensive, high-maintenance prison, and the only way to stay in it is to keep earning enough to afford it.